Alright, can everyone hear me okay? Yep. I'm hoping it can because I need both hands and I don't really want to hold a microphone.
Stand.
Firstly, let me say how proud I am to be involved in something like this. The Sea Lake community should be very, very prideful with what you've done here in a short amount of time. And certainly Kevin spoke about how long he's wanted to put something like this together with the community, but it's now come to fruition. And I think the Sea Lake community needs a good clap. Thank you. Yes. It's something I'm sure that we'll build to a larger event when it's held again, and each time it'll become more and more renowned, not just in Australia, but hopefully eventually overseas as well. Now, seeing you've seen a shooting star there, I wasn't going to start with shooting stars, but I'll just quickly comment that for the Boorong people that if you're a person with a missing front tooth, a shooting star is a portent of evil. So I'm hoping you're not missing a front tooth there. I'd also like to welcome any Aboriginal community members that are here with us this evening. Welcome. It's a pleasure for me to be able to speak on Boorong lands and the lands of the Wurgai language. And tonight I'm going to give you a general introduction to the night sky, and I'm going to also incorporate some of the Boorong stars that we can see here. Unfortunately, it'd be much better if we had some of the bright constellations like Orion up, because there's some really nice stars with Boorong names in that area, but that'll be up just after midnight, so I'm hoping a few of you are going to stay until after midnight with us as well, and you'll be able to see some of those stars coming up. Now, just before we start talking about the galaxy in general, I just want to point out that area over there. That is the planet Mars going down on the horizon. Now, I wanted to point that out before it set, because as you know, Dr. Victor Gostin spoke to us earlier today, and he gave a very good talk and a very good description on some of the topography of Mars and some of the recent discoveries of this world. Keep in mind when you look at Mars there are now... Pardon?
Show it again.
Yeah. Keep in mind when you look at the red planet Mars there, it's very faint at the moment, yeah, that Mars has a number of rovers on there that are moving about the surface. Now, there are two rovers called Spirit and Opportunity. They were initially designed to last for 90 days on the surface. They've been going for well over 3 years now. They are regularly sending photos back from the surface of Mars, and this is all leading up to, as Vic said, eventually putting people on Mars and looking for life. But it's nice that we can be able to see this. Mars is named after the Roman god of war, because in warfare blood was shed, and because Mars has a bit of a reddish colour, particularly we can't see it quite as well now because it's very low, because Mars looks a little bit like a droplet of blood, it was associated with their war god. Now, sitting up to the left of Mars, we have another object which appears like a star, is not a star. That is actually the planet Venus. So we have Mars and Venus sitting side by side there. Venus is the second planet from the Sun. It is also the hottest planet from the Sun. You may wonder why that is. It's because Venus is shrouded in cloud cover. It has primarily a carbon dioxide atmosphere. The clouds and the moisture on Venus are made up of sulfuric acid. The average temperature is 480 degrees Celsius on that planet. It is so hot on the surface that tin and lead would melt. The atmospheric pressure is also 90 times that of the Earth. That means it's very similar to being about 1 kilometre beneath the ocean and having all of that water on top of you and around you. So if we were able to grab a spacecraft and shoot off to Venus now and land on the surface, we'd immediately be crushed by the pressure, fried by the atmosphere, and fried by the temperature, I meant to say, corroded by the atmosphere and crushed by the pressure. So it's not going to be a future holiday destination for humans. But it's nice to see it there in the sky. I'm going to draw your attention to this area here now. This band we can see is our galaxy. Alright, so we are, in a sense, I might try my other laser here, that one's a little bit faint. That one's not working.
The Milky Way.
Up here, so up in this area here, my laser's just failing on me a little bit here. Oh, that's a bugger, that's better.
Oh, there it is.
The band of the Milky Way we can see here, I'll just fiddle with that a bit, that we can see here.
Yes.
This is all part of our galaxy, and we call it the Milky Way galaxy. So what we're seeing here is the accumulated light from millions and millions of stars, but our eyes aren't quite sensitive enough to be able to define them into individual stars. But we still see that accumulated glow. And to be able to see, I wonder if there's any way we can kill those car lights.
They're only going to go so far,
Yeah.
you're going to run into the roadblock.
I could fire the laser at them, yeah. So we see the accumulated light from the stars in our galaxy, but our eyes aren't sensitive enough to be
There
able
goes
to
another shooting.
aren't sensitive enough to be able to define them into individual stars.
Another two.
Now the term Milky Way actually comes from the ancient Greeks, and the ancient Greeks, their goddess was Hera. There was Zeus and Hera, and Zeus was renowned for having affairs. He was a little bit of a bugger. He was also always off having affairs.
Philandra.
And Hera, could I just get you to hold your comments until I've finished, if you wouldn't mind? So he was off having affairs, and these affairs often produced children. And one of the children was Hercules. Hercules was then born to a god who was Zeus, and to a mortal woman who was Alcmene. But Zeus wanted Hercules to have godlike qualities, so what he actually did was he put the baby Hercules to the breast of Hera while she was sleeping. Hercules as a baby was still very strong, and he actually bit her, and she pulled him away from the breast, and breast milk sprayed across the heavens. And this is where the term Milky Way comes from, that we still use today for the Milky Way galaxy. So it is not a chocolate bar. It is a chocolate bar, but that's not the origins of the name. Alright, so now in our galaxy there are about 100,000 million stars, and this is a conservative estimate. Some estimates say as much as 400,000 million. So we may have 400 billion stars, but a conservative estimate is about 100 billion, 100,000 million stars in our galaxy alone. If we talk about other galaxies in the visible universe, there are at least about 120,000 million other galaxies in the visible universe. So there are more stars in the visible universe than there are grains of sand on all of the beaches and all of the deserts of the entire planet Earth. Now that's a pretty mind-boggling figure. In fact, mathematicians have actually done calculations on this, and there are about 3 stars for every grain of sand on the Earth, for every grain of sand on a beach or a desert, which is pretty mind-boggling when you think about it. So this band we see here, we don't see, for example, I live in Adelaide, I don't see this in the city. It's something I miss out on, which is very sad. And for people that live in Sea Lake and surrounding towns, sometimes you tend to take these things for granted, but you've got really great skies. And we live in a country that is very low on light pollution. If you look at a nighttime photograph of the Earth taken by a satellite, you will see that Europe is aglow, because there are lots of populations, of course, contribute to this, because there are city lights everywhere. The United States is, Japan is just a sea of lights. Australia, parts of Africa and South America are the only ones that appear truly dark. So astronomers are very, very proactive when it comes to what we call light pollution, because we want to preserve the skies. We have the best skies in the world, in my opinion, and we need to preserve that. Alright, now the star over in this direction here, and it's a really annoying, my pointer's playing up. hopefully that will, I've got another one here, we'll just fiddle around with this. The star over, no, that one's going to play up as well, the batteries must be a bit flat.
Cool.
I find if you take the batteries out, put them back in.
Let's
sort
try
of
that.
works for a little while and then...
Did you bring, that's annoying, a malfunction.
There.
There we go, that star there is the star Alpha Centauri. And Alpha Centauri is our closest neighbour after the Sun. Now it takes about 8 minutes and 27 seconds for light to come from our Sun, travelling at the speed of light, to reach us here on the Earth. So I'm not suggesting look at the Sun, but just keep in mind the light we see from the Sun left there is already over 8 minutes old. Alpha Centauri is what we call 4.3 light years away. That means that it's taken the light you now see from that star 4 years and 4 months to reach us here on the Earth. So that light is old light. Now the speed of light is approximately 300,000 kilometres per second. That's very, very fast. For those of you that may want an accurate figure, it's 299,792 kilometres and 458 metres per second. Much easier to remember 300,000 though. Now when I was a kid, I used to rush home from school because there was a television program called Lost in Space. And Lost in Space, you may remember the Robinson family were heading off towards Alpha Centauri. And the reason they were heading off, can we kill that light over there?
Can you turn that down, please, or turn it off?
Can we just turn that white light off, please?
Thank you.
So Alpha Centauri is the reason they were heading to this star is because it's our closest neighbour. Now, if we were, let's say we had an imaginary bus, and that bus could fly into space, and we had an unlimited supply of fuel, and we were going to drive towards the star Alpha Centauri at a constant speed of about, let's say, 100 kilometres an hour. If we were to drive towards Alpha Centauri at a constant speed of 100 kilometres an hour, it would still take us 48 million years to reach this star. And this is our nearest neighbour. So I'm just trying to give you a little bit of a feel for the galaxy we live in. And we're just one star, our Sun, and 8 planets, 9 if you include Pluto, going around one star, one solar system. And many of the stars you see here, remember all of these stars, with the exception of the planets I pointed out, are all suns. Okay? Now, when we look at Alpha Centauri, we call these two stars the pointers, because they point roughly in the direction of the Southern Cross down here. If I draw a line through there and a line through there, that's our cross shape. Now most of you will know the Southern Cross because it appears on our flag, the Australian flag, also the flag of Western Samoa, Papua New Guinea, Brazil, and did I mention New Zealand?
No.
No, and New Zealand. Now the Southern Cross is a nice constellation. There are 88 constellations, and this is actually the smallest in area. Okay. Now we see it as the cross, but some of you that were there today will know already that many indigenous groups don't see it that way. Now we are on the traditional homelands of the Boorong clan, the Boorong people, and they sat on the banks of the Tyrrell here in this region and looked at the night sky and spent time with a gentleman by the name of William Stanbridge, who Keva is going to tell you a lot more about. There's a car light again. Just so you don't lose your night vision, you'll need to look away from the car lights. Kev is going to tell you a lot more about William Stanbridge tomorrow. And William Stanbridge is a fascinating individual. He was an enlightened man for his time, and one of the great things he did for us was he recorded a lot of the knowledge of the Boorong night sky. And John Morrison, who's with us here tonight, has made a very in-depth study. Is there something we can do about stopping these car lights?
We'll go and do it.